Now the index and match functions can be used together as an alternative to V and H lookups. They have an advantage over a V and H lookup in that they can take a horizontal and a vertical value at the same time much more easily than a VLOOKUP can, and look up any value you like in a given array. Let's see this in action with our sales file. So if we were to give people the choice of typing a row heading and then a column heading, let's just auto fit that. So in here they might type East, and in here they might type May. What we would then want to return is the value for the East in May. So we're going to use an index function to search our banana array, but then our row number, so which row to pick, is going to be driven by the fact that they've chosen East. So I need to actually embed a match function inside my index function to find out what row number we're dealing with. So we go match the East value in our lookup array, which is going to be these cells here. In fact, let's take total as well, because we might want to look the total up. And then the last part of our match function is going to be an exact match. So we need to find East in that list, close the match function, and then comma to bring us into the next parameter for the index function, which is which column to choose. Well, the column is going to be driven by another match function, which is going to look up whatever they type in here in this list. And again, it's got to be an exact match. So that's 0. So we close brackets for the match function, and then we close brackets for our index function. So we're embedding two match functions inside an index to return a specific cell value from our table of data. When we press return, we get 24. So the sales of bananas for the East in May, which obviously is not correct because the answer should be 3. And we have 24, which is this cell here, which is actually offset by 1, both in the column index and in the row index. Now the reason for that, if we re-inspect our formula, is that our match formulas are not using the same columns. They're starting at 2 here, for example, when really it needs to start right at the left. So that should start at A1, so that we're returning the same index value that matches the index value in the array, and the same for there, that should be A1, so that it uses every single cell across the top of our array. Now we either do that, or we add 1 onto the value that gets returned by the match formula. It's much easier for us to match using the same number of cells across the top of our array that we're using as the index value. And then when we return, we see we get 3. And now this can be replaced with any of our column headings. We could go June, and that would return 7. So June for East. And you can see that by using the match formula, we make the result much more user-friendly to deal with, because as a human, we can just simply fill in the text values here for either the column headings or the row headings, and then let the formula do the work of figuring out what the index is for each of our 2 text values, feeding those into the index function that looks at the banana range to give me the correct sales value that I'm after. Now there would be nothing to stop us changing that to total, and we will get the total banana sales for June, 64. Now in reality, we ought to build into our function here some ifs to make sure the values being typed actually exist, otherwise we're likely to produce hash value or hash ref. Alternatively, we could make these 2 cells have little drop-down arrows that only select the values that are in the given range. And that's achieved by selecting the cell, going to Data, Data Validation, and we say we're only going to provide a list, and the list for that cell is going to be provided by these values here. Okay, and you can see the drop list then only supplies north, south, east and west. And then we could do the same for the column heading, data validation, list with the values being supplied by these headings here. Okay, and we can see we can only pick a column heading. So we could pick Q1 for the east and it comes to 10, or we could use the total for Q1, it comes to 271. So we've made a nice little user-friendly lookup interface by having drop lists for each of the row and column headings, and then an index with an embedded match function to do all the work for us.